There are parts of the internet that don't want to be found, and once they find you, they never let go. I had always been fascinated by the deep web, not in the way people on social media talked about it, like it was some magical place where horrors waited behind every click. I knew most of those stories were exaggerated. I had done my research. I read articles, watched long-form videos, and followed cybersecurity discussions from people who actually knew what they were talking about. They all agreed on one thing. Most of the deep web was painfully boring. And for a long time, that was exactly my experience. Dead pages, broken links, forums abandoned years ago, marketplaces with nothing but error messages. I spent months navigating that hidden part of the internet, slowly losing interest, wondering why anyone was so afraid of it in the first place. Until one night. It happened by pure coincidence. I was browsing a computer security forum, following a long chain of links buried deep inside old threads, when I came across something strange. A link with no title, no description, no comments explaining what it was. Just a random string of letters and numbers. Something about it made me pause. I almost closed the page, but curiosity won. I clicked. The page took nearly a full minute to load. I remember staring at the screen, listening to the quiet hum of my computer, feeling that familiar mix of anticipation and disappointment. When it finally appeared, my first reaction wasn't fear, it was confusion. The site looked ancient, like a forgotten website from the early 2000s. Black background, white text, no images at the top, no logo, no explanation of what the forum was for. Just an endless list of threads. Every title was meaningless, random combinations of letters and numbers that gave no hint about what was inside. I opened one, expecting spam, nonsense text, or corrupted files. Instead, I saw a photograph. It was a house at night. The photo was taken from across the street. One window was lit. Nothing else seemed unusual. I frowned and opened another thread. Another house, another lit window, then another. Different streets, different neighborhoods, detached homes, apartment buildings, townhouses. Some looked expensive, others ordinary. At first, I didn't understand the purpose. The photos were boring, almost pointless. Then I noticed the details. In every single photo, there was someone inside. A silhouette outlined by light. A shadow moving behind a curtain. A figure walking through a room, always with their back turned, always unaware. Someone had taken these photos from the darkness outside. I felt uneasy and scrolled down to read the comments, hoping for an explanation. That's when my stomach tightened. These weren't casual remarks, they were reports. He leaves the house at 7:45 every morning. Returns at 6:30 except Fridays. Lives alone. Old lock. No alarm. Another thread described a woman in terrifying detail. Her work schedule, her delivery days, the fact that she slept with the window open. This wasn't art. This wasn't curiosity. It was surveillance. Someone was watching these people for days, maybe weeks, studying them, documenting their lives, and sharing everything with strangers on this forum. Some users even requested targets. Others offered money for detailed schedules and better photos. If you're still watching right now, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, because this story only gets darker from here, and you won't want to miss what happens next. I wanted to close the site, I really did, but I kept scrolling. Hundreds of active threads, hundreds of lives exposed. Then suddenly, I saw a photo that made my heart stop. I knew that house. Red brick walls, small neglected garden, white door, my house. And inside the lit living room window was me, sitting at my computer, back turned, bathed in the bluish glow of the screen. My hands started shaking as I checked the upload time. 10 minutes ago. Only 10 minutes. That meant whoever took the photo could still be outside. I jumped up so fast I knocked my chair over and ran to the window, ripping the curtain aside. The street was empty. No cars, no footsteps, no shadows, just silence. I went back to my computer and read the comments under my photo. Male, mid-20s. Lives alone. Spends nights on the computer. Old door lock. Easy access. Someone knew my routines. I shut everything down and sat in the dark, listening to every sound in the house. I called the police, but without proof of a crime, they couldn't do much. They told me to be careful, to secure my home. That night I didn't sleep. In the days that followed, I changed everything. New locks, cameras, alarms, blackout curtains. I stopped turning lights on at night. I altered my schedule daily, but the feeling never left. 8 months later, I sold the house, moved to another city, deleted my social media, started over. And yet, sometimes I still wake up at night, convinced someone is watching. Because the worst part isn't being watched without knowing it. The worst part is knowing you'll never find out who was behind the camera. I thought the deep web was just a myth, until I watched someone beg for their life, live on my screen. It all started with a YouTube video. One of those videos that promised to reveal the darkest secrets of the internet. The narrator spoke slowly, dramatically, talking about hidden websites, untraceable pages, and things that were never meant to be seen. He warned viewers to stay away, of course, but that only made it more tempting. I was 18 years old, curious, stupid, and convinced nothing bad could happen to me. That same night, I followed the tutorial in the video. I downloaded the browser, adjusted the settings, and entered the deep web from the safety of my bedroom. I expected excitement. Maybe something shocking, maybe something mysterious. What I found instead was boring. Most sites didn't load. Others were abandoned forums filled with posts from years ago. A few marketplaces existed, but I didn't click anything that looked illegal. After a few hours, I felt disappointed and ready to close everything. Then I saw the link. No title, no description, just random letters and numbers. Something in my head told me not to click it. I clicked it anyway. The page took almost 2 minutes to load. When it finally appeared, I didn't understand what I was looking at. A video player filled most of the screen. Beneath it was a chat window filled with messages in different languages. On the side, a counter kept increasing every few seconds. The video showed an empty room. Concrete walls, no windows, no furniture, except for a metal chair in the center. Someone was sitting on it. Their head was covered with a black hood. Their hands were tied behind their back. They weren't moving. It took a few seconds for my brain to catch up. This wasn't just a video. It was live. And it was an auction. The counter wasn't views. It was money. People in the chat were bidding, typing numbers, making comments, laughing, requesting things I don't even want to repeat. I told myself it had to be fake. A performance. A sick joke designed to scare people like me who were visiting the deep web for the first time. Then the person in the chair moved, slowly, weakly, like they were waking up. The chat exploded. The money climbed faster. Someone stepped into the frame. I only saw black gloves as they grabbed the hood and pulled it off. It was a young woman. Blonde hair, dirty and tangled. Her eyes were red from crying. A gag was tied tightly around her mouth. She looked straight into the camera. And I knew instantly, this was real. Her eyes were filled with pure terror. She shook her head violently, trying to scream, trying to beg. The chat reacted with excitement. Some people increased their bids. Others described in detail what they wanted done to her. A timer appeared on the screen. Less than 20 minutes remained. I couldn't move. My hands felt numb. I wanted to close the page, but my body wouldn't respond. I was frozen, watching a human being get sold like an object. Finally, I slammed the laptop shut. I sat in the dark, shaking, unable to breathe properly. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face staring back at me, silently begging for help. The next day, I convinced myself it had been fake. It had to be. No one could do something like that and get away with it. Then I saw the news. A 23-year-old woman had gone missing 3 days earlier after leaving work. The article included her photo. Blonde hair, light eyes. It was her. My legs gave out. I stared at the screen, realizing what that meant. What I had watched was real. I thought about going to the police, but I had nothing. No link, no screenshots, no proof. Just a story that sounded insane. And I was afraid. Afraid of being traced. Afraid of becoming a problem for people capable of doing something like that. I followed the case for weeks. She was never found. Not alive, not dead. 2 years have passed since that night. I've never returned to the deep web. I deleted everything related to it and tried to move on. But some nights, I still see her eyes. And I still wonder if I was one of the last people to see her alive. And if doing nothing makes me just as guilty. The first time I played the game, I thought it was harmless. By the time I realized it was real, it was already choosing who would die. I found the game late one night when sleep refused to come. I had been scrolling aimlessly through forums, clicking links without really paying attention, just trying to pass the time. Someone mentioned an interactive experience you couldn't find on the normal internet. No downloads, no rules, real consequences. That last part should have made me close the page. Instead, I clicked the link. The site was simple. Black background, white text. In the center of the screen, a sentence appeared. "This is the door game. Do you dare to play?" Below it was a single button labeled Start. I was 19 years old, and arrogant enough to believe nothing bad could happen through a screen. I assumed it was an indie horror game or some elaborate prank meant to scare curious users. I pressed Start. 2 identical doors appeared. One on the left, one on the right, dark wood, golden handles. A timer appeared above them, counting down from 30 seconds. No instructions. I chose randomly. A message appeared. "Correct choice. You win $5. I laughed. A form appeared asking for payment details, which I ignored. I played again. Same result. Another $5. Again and again. By the 10th round, I had won over $40. It felt too easy. I was convinced the entire thing was a scam designed to steal personal information. Then the game changed. The doors were no longer identical. Each one had a photograph attached to it. The left door showed a middle-aged man walking down a street. The right door showed a young woman sitting alone on a park bench, staring at her phone. The photos looked real, taken from a distance, like surveillance shots. Text appeared beneath them. Which one should live? My heart started racing. This had to be part of the horror element, a psychological trick. There was no way my choice meant anything. The timer kept counting down. I clicked the left door at the last second. A message appeared saying I had chosen well and that the game would continue tomorrow. Then the page closed on its own. I couldn't reopen it no matter how hard I tried. I went to bed uneasy but convinced it was just a game. The next morning, everything changed. I opened my phone and saw a local news alert. A young woman had been killed the night before after being hit by a car at a crosswalk. The driver fled the scene. There was a photo. It was her, the same woman from the door I didn't choose. My hand started shaking. I searched for more details, desperate for proof it was a coincidence. But the more I looked, the clearer it became. I hadn't chosen her, and she had died. That night, I received a message from an unknown number. It contained a link and a sentence. The game continues. You have 1 hour. I hadn't given anyone my number. I hadn't entered any personal information. Panic took over. I turned my phone off and tried to sleep. An hour later, the phone turned itself back on. The link was still there. I opened it. 2 new doors appeared. 2 new photos. 2 strangers. The question was the same. I didn't want to choose. But the message had been clear. If I didn't play, they would choose for me. And I was terrified of what that meant. I chose. The next morning, the person I didn't pick was dead. This continued for 14 nights. Every night, 2 doors. Every night, a choice. Every morning, a death reported in the news. Accidents, heart attacks, murders, suicides. Always believable, always explainable, until the 15th night. I opened the game and felt my blood turn cold. The left door showed an elderly man walking a dog. The right door showed me. It was a photo of me taken that same day at the supermarket. Text appeared beneath the doors. You have played well. It is time to rest. The game never ends. Only the players change. The page closed. I never received another message. 4 months have passed. I'm still alive, but I don't feel safe. Because I know the truth now. Somewhere out there, someone else is playing. And one day, my photo will appear again. If you want to hear more true horror stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to the channel and support us so we can bring you new terrifying stories every single week. Because some games don't end when the screen goes dark. They're just waiting for the next player.